Former England centre Mathew Tait is no stranger to big Wales against England matches, having featured in 5 in his 38-capped career. So we agreed to rekindle his love of aviation at Helly Centre this week in return for a chat ahead of Saturday's huge Guinness Six Nations clash in Cardiff.
Last time I was up in a helicopter was on honeymoon. I did have my PPL and IMC and a single engine fixed wing, but unfortunately it's been about 4 or 5 years since I've been up. The flying fund became the nursery fund when I had children, so I'd love to get back up again at some point in the aircraft, but this should be good fun. I'm looking forward to it.
38 England caps, you played in 5 England-Wales games. What are your memories of those encounters?
Well, I'll get in with the infamous one. Obviously making my debut in Millennium 2005, I think it was a bit of a baptism of fire in terms of those fixtures. Amazing occasion as an 18-year-old to be involved in. Obviously the outcome wasn't as I'd necessarily hoped. Actually the centenary game at Twickenham is actually probably the other one that sticks in my mind most out of the other games. Just around the occasion, and actually the fact that we came away with a hard-fought victory over what was a very good Wales side at that point.
Yeah, if I may, I'll just bring you back to that 2005 game. You're going to love me for that, obviously. Yeah. Baptism of fire, as you mentioned. I mean, obviously a lot of people refer to, you don't want to put another player through a Mathew Tait situation. Yeah. And we know that you played that game. It was every year until you featured in an England side again. Is it something that sort of still creates emotions about how you were treated or how that was as a player?
It was hard to take at the time as an 18-year-old, 6 months out of school, to be thrown into an occasion like that. And arguably, if you're good enough for that game, you're probably good enough for the week after, and could have possibly been supported a bit better in terms of that. But Andy Robinson at the time made that decision on what he thought was best for the team, and that was for me not to be involved the week after. And actually, they beat France the week after at Twickenham, so he turned out to be right.
Was there much support sort of for you within the setup at that time?
Probably, in hindsight, I think things would have been a bit better and a bit different. I was very lucky that a very close family network, good support network back up at Newcastle, with sort of Steve Black up there, who was a mentor to a lot of the younger guys at the time. And looking philosophically about it, if I hadn't gone through that, I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to go back and do the Sevens circuit and be involved in the Sevens over that 12-month period, which kind of I would look back when the time comes to retire as probably one of the highlights and the high points of my career in terms of both achievement and enjoyment.
By the time you then got the chance to put a few more caps on the England career, did you feel that you'd been given a bit of a bum start, or by the time that those were rolling in, were you just back, reset and ready to go?
Just back ready to go. You sort of draw a line under it. I'd got a lot more experience in terms of my games at Newcastle, and obviously been involved in that Sevens circuit. So you crack back on. I think it was the Australia tour that's following summer. I got a chance after the Commonwealth Games to be involved back in it. From memory, the tour didn't necessarily go to plan in terms of the results again, but it was, from a personal perspective, it was good to be involved in both those tests and try and work my way back into that squad.
So Wales, England, then you've obviously had experience of the Millennium Stadium. What's it like as a venue?
It's an amazing place to play, particularly if the roof's on. I don't know whether it will be this week. The atmosphere is just incredible, and so Welsh are very passionate fans, and their anthem, out of all of them, kind of evokes a sense of pride in a nation, and that emotion which you can feel when you stood there.
I mean, it's an absolute cracker. It must be tempting to join in and get hold on.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but it's an amazing anthem, and the support for the Welsh is incredible. And memories of playing there's difficulty in actually hearing your teammates stood 2 or 3 yards away from you, because the noise reverberates around the stadium, and it's one of the iconic places to play. In the Six Nations, they probably haven't played as well as they would have liked, but Warren Gatland, I think, alluded to in the press, they've got that ability now to win those tight games, which potentially they previously haven't, and they'll be fired up for England coming to town. There's nothing quite like an England-Wales game in Cardiff.
you're pretty experienced across the back line. What have you made of what you've seen from the Welsh? Let's start with.
I've been impressed. They've got some very, very good individuals in there. Liam Williams has been fantastic for them at fullback, getting an opportunity to almost cement that spot with Lee Halfpenny's kind of injuries at the moment. Josh Adams on the wing has been great for Worcester for a period of time and is now sort of showing that on the international stage. Be interesting to see how they go, that midfield collision with Hadley Parkes and Jonathan Davis against whoever England go with, probably Manu and Slade. I think it'll be really interesting. And then at 10, whether they go Dan Bigger, probably gives you a little bit more control. He obviously came off yesterday for Northampton with his knee. Gareth Anscombe gives you a little bit more possibly an attack in terms of taking the ball to the line. So been impressed with them. I think they'll probably be frustrated that they've not been as consistent over the last 2 games as they would like. But yeah, these big England-Wales games are treated as one-offs, and I'm sure they're all going to be very, very much up for it.
Let's talk about Eddie Jones's side then. An opportunity again to see, as you say, potentially the likes of Mathew Tait and Henry Slade in that centre partnership. What do you make of those strengths? Obviously Manu's someone you'll know well from your time at Tigers. Yeah,
there's no doubt in Manu's ability. His issues over the last few years is obviously staying fit, and now that he's getting a run of games, we can see what an impressive and important player he is for whatever team he's playing, and the relationship him and Henry Slade have got in that midfield will only get stronger the longer they play together. Nice balance between that kind of abrasive punch that Manu gives you and the silky skills that Henry Slade gives you, with probably underrated in terms of his steeliness with his defence and his ability to read those defensive situations from 13. Chris Ashton's obviously injured this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see whether there's talk of Joe Cockney-Singh maybe he's getting a shot on the wing. And Johnny May's been phenomenal in terms of what he's been doing. So it's just a case of, I think, keeping those key blokes fit.
So get the crystal ball out then, Matt. How is it going to go on Saturday afternoon?
I think it's going to be a physical encounter, fiery start. I think the key thing for England is keeping the likes of Billy and Manu kind of on the pitch and fit, and using them wisely, which they have done in the previous 2 games. For me, I think England will have a little bit too much in terms of carrying the momentum that will generate, so I'm going to go England by 5 to 7.